Please welcome artist and designer, Nice Aunties.
Hi, good morning. Morning, hi. So I'm Nice Aunties, an artist from Singapore, and where I'm from, nobody wants to be called an auntie. Aunties are not nice. So aunties are not just older women in a family. They are a social stigma that's associated with getting older and being very old-fashioned. So an auntie is very blunt and she has no boundaries. So when she sees you, she might say,
"Why are you still single?"
So anyone can be an auntie, even a man, if you exhibit these characteristics. So it has become so ingrained in our culture in Singapore that even an object or an interior design that you find old-fashioned can be labeled an auntie. But having grown up surrounded by women in my family, I know an auntie is so much more than that. She is resourceful and misunderstood and also very clever and funny. You know when you have questions like, how do I get rid of this pimple? The auntie always has the answers. But auntie is also conflicted. Like my auntie would see me and she would say, "Oh my God, you look so fat," but she would feed me more food after. So, I love my aunties, and I see them hold my family together in ways that nobody thanked them for. And they show their love in so many ways, and I wanted to honor their everyday labor. So I created this universe, this parallel world called the Auntieverse, where aunties are the main characters. So what does that actually mean? So I wanted to ask these questions about aging, like what kind of auntie do I want to become when I grow up? And most of all, I wanted to reframe the idea of the auntie, which is a really bad label. So I started to explore themes like beauty and body image, like fashion, like who gets to be on the catwalk. Also, aunties in Asia have really big hairdos, so I have a series of videos about how they maintain their hair, like special hairspray and structural support. And I also have everyday subject matters like doing laundry and labor. So even things like astrology, which I love, or the planetary alignments, I will make stories about it, like generally during full moons as well. Aunties even tried to have a cooking show.
Welcome to Cooking with Auntie. First you add this, and then zoom in, and then you add that. Take photo. And then, here. Fried rice with no rice. Yay.
It didn't go so well. The cooking show was canceled. Okay, so I was really fortunate to talk about aunties and the Auntieverse in TED 2 years ago, and thereafter I exhibited all over the world at Times Square, New York, on Sunset Boulevard in LA, recently in London, Oxford Street, so it was on a facade for an entire month. And I also exhibited this year in Shibuya Crossing, like a dream come true. Some of the characters in the Auntieverse were made into gigantic inflatable sculptures, like this garlic who wanted to be a fashion model but fell over. And I hung, as well, gigantic auntie underwear in Uruguay for an art festival. It's called Nice Aunties by Nice Aunties. Well, I got the best feedback from the local aunties in Uruguay, and it was like an auntie saying stuff like, "Finally, underwear big enough to fit me." I thought it was really cute. So, one of the main things about the Auntieverse is about reframing the auntie, and I believe that anything can be reframed. Like there are so many perspectives to one story, right? So take, for example, the sad story of Sisyphus, which is this poor guy doomed to push a rock up the hill forever and ever. But in the Auntieverse, this will not happen. Firstly, aunties will do it in a team. They will make it fun. So one day I was traveling between Tokyo and Kyoto on the Shinkansen. I saw this Mount Fuji. I'm like, okay, I'm going to make this video called How to Make a Snack. You see, a really sad story becomes a happy ending. So, I love to talk about creating with AI. Brings me back to the same level of energy and excitement like I was a child. But without all the memories and experiences before that, I could not create the content. So there are these things from childhood till now that sort of become recurring themes in my work. And these are some of them, and I'm going to tell you about it today. So take, for example, plastics. As far as I can remember, I grew up surrounded by plastic. My mom keeps her food in this Tupperware, and then all the hawker centers in Singapore, if you take away food, they always give it to you in these plastic bags. It's not very healthy, I know. So I'm probably made of plastics by now. So naturally, this idea gets extended into the Auntieverse. So this was made in 2023, but upscaled with Magnific. So I made stories about how plastics permeated the city, and also how things made with plastic become part of the cityscape. So this was in 2023, when I made mannequin legs support a highway, and they also become legs for cars that aunties sort of travel in, because leg and car has the same sound in a dialect in Singapore. So it kind of makes sense to us as a pun. And also, what if, these big plastic creatures inhabit our cities? So I have an architectural background, so it's natural that I would think about these things. And I also think about how plastics infiltrate the home in our food. Maybe our pets are made of plastics as well. And then you can see that every year I will revisit this theme. Sorry about the sound. Every year I'll revisit the theme again and again. You can see how the technology of AI improved and changed, but the narrative stays the same. I will show you this video again later. Don't worry. So it brings me back to this point, which is no ideas are too old. So 10 years ago, my partner in architecture had this idea to build these colorful beach huts on the shores of Singapore. The cladding are to be made of upcycled ocean plastics. So this idea won an award in the World Architecture Festival in 2016. And I remember being really shocked when he showed me this photograph of a seabird with his stomach filled with plastics. But 10 years later, this is my version of the same bird, except it is an auntie lying on the beach with her stomach spilling onto the beach. So it is part of this series called Atlantis, which is inspired by Atlantis, aunties, and the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. I've got 5 narratives documenting how aunties clean up the ocean floor, how aunties collect trash from the city, every day, and then she would take them into the workshop and upcycle them, process them, and then eventually selling them at the aunties outlet malls. Yep, things that you don't need. Okay. And eventually chilling back out on the beach again. We'll watch this. Okay. So there are many places in the Auntieverse, and Atlantis is just one of them. So, I think these narratives can happen anywhere, right? On the moon, in outer space, even the body. So there's this place in the Auntieverse called Jelly City, where themes of commerce and business occur with aunties and jellies. It is very, very wet, it's flooded. So it started with the idea of me imagining, what if I have my own personal space? It's sort of like a barrier to keep my energy in. And then it became this story in the Auntieverse about this jelly fashion going viral. And I also have videos about how do you spend your weekend in the Auntieverse. It's like a tour guide to this place. And also, like Google review, we have that in the Auntieverse too. This is a review of the jelly spa. It's called 1-star review. Basically, the auntie just complains from the start till the end. It's all on my Instagram. So I want to show you this video called Limited Edition Fragrance, which is the auntie made a mistake of feeding her pet some trash, but she turned it into a business idea. Thank you. So naturally, because this is a business place, there are so many different types of shops in Jelly City. There's a grocery store, and then I have florists and perfumery, and even an office for cats, and post office, and all kinds of stuff. So this is why it is amazing when one day Swatch, the clicker, okay, one day it's amazing that Swatch wrote in saying, okay, you know what, we know you are building this Jelly City, and we have a new watch about to be launched. It's a scuba diving watch inspired by the jellyfish. So can you please make an artwork inspired by this watch? I'm like, yes, because, this is such great synchronicity, when there's such alignment in stories and brand, and I love Swatch growing up. And the idea for this watch is when you wear it, it makes you feel wet, which I thought is very strange. But yeah, it's very strange. So I thought, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to expand Jelly City. I'm going to include a timepiece district where aunties will make these watches, and then magic happens. And this is the result.
It's always wet, very wet, in Jelly City this time of the year, especially in the timepiece district. Most of the jelly clocks are carefully handmade by aunties, but sometimes, at special moments, magic happens.
Thank you. I'll drink some water now. No, for real. Okay. So, I want to tell you, there's an auntie in all of us. Do you sometimes look at these delicious food in front of you, and then there's this voice inside you that says,
You look fat.
So, that was how I started my TED Talk 2 years ago. And fast forward from the TED Talk, 18 months, I was very fortunate to be in this photography show called Paris Photo. It is the largest photography fair in the world at the Grand Palais in Paris. So it was a big deal for me. And I wanted to reinterpret photography. And to me, photography is about capturing light on the surface. And I found this mirror at a flea market outside of Paris. It's beautiful. It's like 18th century, Napoleon III. And I had an idea. I'm going to make it into an artwork when, if you look at it, your face gets replaced by an auntie's face, and then she insults you after 2 seconds. Because there's an auntie inside all of us, right? So I developed 13 aunties with this mirror artwork, and they all have different things to say. They can be very blunt. Like, for instance, this auntie, she would ask about, money. She cares about money a lot.
In new job, how much do you earn? Got bonus or not?
Yeah. And out of these aunties, I have also a recurring character from the Auntyverse. This is Auntie Meow. She's an auntie with a cat's face who one day found a cat with an auntie's face. It's like a story about loneliness that I made 2 years ago. So Auntie Meow was integrated into the artwork. So there's an angel on the frame, and we chopped off the angel's head and replaced it with Auntie Meow's head. Yeah, that's Auntie Meow, by the way. So this was a Paris photo. And right now, the mirror is in Barcelona at Load Gallery. It has been upgraded. So the software was upgraded, the hardware as well. It now connects to a printer. So if you visit Barcelona, go see it. So people had a lot of fun with it. This is taken by visitors and who posted on their social media. Now, you see, in Singapore, nobody wants to be an auntie. But in Barcelona, everyone wants to be an auntie. Look at that power pose over there. Anyway, it was really cool. So what does this mean? The auntie is in transformation. The world is changing. So 3 years ago, I was making this series of artworks about how we do things to ourselves for beauty treatments and what it means for our body. And I was also developing an idea about how our skin is very much like nature. You know how things grow on our skin, like plants grow in the landscapes on the planet. And this was developed into a sculpture for a private event for L'Oreal. So I was very lucky to work with this hyper-realistic sculptor from Venice. He makes makeup for Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings. Yeah, really cool. And this is the final outcome. And it is for an event called The Beauty of Longevity, which is about how ideas of beauty are changing. So you see, the auntie, when I was growing up, has always been portrayed in this manner. You would never associate her with new and evolving ideas of beauty. So to me, this is a big deal because the world is changing and our definitions, we are living longer, our definitions of beauty is evolving. And this idea, the sculpture was made last year in June, and this year, I take this idea and develop it into a larger scale. So the idea of skin and our body is now integrated as part of the planet, exploring how it feels to have our body as part of the planet, because we are one and we are not separated in any way. And this is exhibiting as well in Barcelona in the same exhibition called Antiscapes, Works of Body. And I also explore other things in this exhibition, like the menopausal body, and how the ideas of connecting with our body is changing. There wasn't much information about this growing up. I mean, our mothers don't talk about it in Asia, but now you see it everywhere on the internet. And it's wonderful. And also about the moon is a recurring theme in my work, about cycles and how our body is so sensitive and permeable to the environment. And this is frog auntie sort of responding to the moonbeam. So this is all in the exhibition. And now I'm going to show you two artworks that has got to do with how there's a universe within our body and how energy and emotions get stuck in our body that we need to clear sometimes. Thank you. So this was in Barcelona, and I would love for you to visit. The exhibition is on until the 15th of August. So this is the last thing I want to share with you, which is about goddesses. So Singapore, where I'm from, is known to visitors as an ultra-contemporary and modern city. But very few people get to see the armpits of Singapore, where the real people live. You know, where normal people do their marketing, do their laundry, do their interactions, where communities hang out. And earlier I was saying that AI allowed me to re-look at everything that has happened before, and exactly this is where I spent most time with my grandmother. So this is Toa Payoh town in Singapore, and is where I spent the first 10 years of my life. It's a 2-kilometer radius. Most of my time was spent with my grandmother. She was a fishmonger's wife. She never left the home because she had 8 children. So all she did was cook, do laundry, serve the family, and she made fish balls. But we had no documentation of that sort. No photos, no videos. And you know this term, domestic goddess? She is definitely a domestic goddess. I have mixed feelings about this word because if you look at the dictionary, it says somebody who is really good at housework and she loves it. But there existed a generation of women who had no choice because of societal expectations, family pressures, lack of education. And so I made this video in honor of my grandmother. It's called Goddess.
Once upon a time, a goddess arrived on the planet, saw this cute little place, and decided to stay a few days. She was having fun. tending to slippery things, making chewy balls. She could do everything. She handled it all. She was very, very busy and did it so well. And she forgot who she was, where she came from. Day after day, she did these tasks. Centuries passed. Still, she labored, quietly, unnoticed. And then one day, all of a sudden, she woke up, remembered who she was, and left. Gosh, what was that? Have to get back, have to get home. Too many chewy balls. The goddess was glad to have a break. And then her sister appeared and asked, "Oi, where have you been?" The goddess looked back at the place she spent time at and realized it was not real. It was weird. "No worries," her sister said. "Let's chill out." And so they did.
Thank you. So that was made in 2024 during Sora's beta testing. So as you know, Sora has been sort of stopped. So to me, this was like an incredible record of technology at that time. So I'm really grateful for that. Okay, so context for this video. Chinese heaven is ruled by bald old men. And typically, goddesses are slender and beautiful. But in the Auntieverse, they're just like, aunties having a good time with their spirit animals, riding creatures from the Auntieverse. And also in Chinese mythology, thunder and lightning is created by Mr. and Mrs. Thunder. But in the Auntieverse, it's created by aunties just partying away. So this was exhibited at Sora Selects in Tokyo and also in Shanghai and Beijing. So Auntie Goddess from this series is going to have her own spin-off video, which I'm making right now. And what's happening next is she's going to be on the beach doing her thing, and then something else will happen. You'll find out. We are also making a documentary film about being human, where AI is an emerging technology that supports this culture. So the intersection of culture and art and technology. So it is by the film director who made the Daft Punk documentary, and it will be out at the end of this year. And what else is happening? If you happen to be in Busan, Korea, there is an exhibition going on now until June. And in London, if you're in Europe, there's one going on in the Welcome collection, which is about aging. So some of the aunties are exhibiting there. And of course, in Barcelona as well. So thank you, Magnific, for inviting me to speak, and thank you all for listening. Thank you.